And what we'd really like to do is when you move, you change it in one authoritative source, and the magazine figures out where you live when they next have to send you a magazine. Now, sometimes they need to get information about you at login time if it matters for authorization, but that's not the same as setting the information. So finally, one more requirement that I think is important, and this one is a stretch. You know, I admit that this is one that may be tough to stick. Just its existence in the world would not necessarily solve things because there are business model questions about it, but I suggest that we need to allow people to impose contract terms for data usage and further sharing back on websites that get information. And I don't know, we have a saying, why buy the cow when you can get the milk for free? Hopefully that's not too risque. And I don't want to pick on any one technology here, honestly I don't, but I want to suggest to you that informed consent isn't actually enough. It may be necessary but insufficient to prevent oversharing of personally identifiable information and insufficient to prevent digital shadow effects. So the example here, it happens to be the info card flow. And what I've done is model in an info card protocol flow something that happened in real life to my then manager. He lives in the Bay Area, and he called a public golf course, and I think it was in Pleasanton, California. And he tried to reserve a tee time. And they told him, all right, sir, we're happy to help you with that. This is over the phone. Can we get your social security number? Because we need that in order to book the tee time. And he went, what? And having the chance to think about it for a moment, he decided to decline, and he hung up the phone. Now, again, that's not too different from the choice we face today where, you know, we give them the information or we forego service. But what happens in this particular flow, if you're using cards, is the public golf website interacts with your identity selector, and given that the public golf course today asks for social security numbers through, you know, sort of figuring they'll just keep the same IT infrastructure they have, they might ask for that social security number in future. They ask for it by making it a required claim. The selector says, oh, I've got these 3 cards that satisfy all the required claims of the public golf course, and presents to you those 3 cards and everything else is grayed out. So the other 2 parties in the transaction have already figured out what it is they need, and now they're just waiting for you to press return, essentially, or I agree or something. So it's possible, not always the case, but it's possible that this circumstance where required claims are indicated and you're presented with just, you know, grayed out cards or live cards, that friction in sharing has been reduced, not maybe increased appropriately. Now, so I've stated 3 requirements that I think are really important, in addition to other ones we know about just convenience and not being annoyed and stuff. Go forward. I wonder if I can see a show of hands here. Who here is familiar with OAuth, the new technology OAuth? A few people. Okay. I wanted to bring OAuth to the table here today because I think it's important to know about for reasons just such as this. So I want to describe it to you in just a little bit of detail here. OAuth is a technology that, they describe it in a kind of nutshell way as a valet key for you to let applications work with your other applications in your life without your having to give away the keys to the castle. You don't have to, like, if you use Twitter, you know there's a lot of third-party applications that are willing to hook up to Twitter and do interesting stuff by kind of logging in as you and doing something. The question for me is, are they asking for my password to do it, in which case, forget it, I'm not signing up with them, or do they connect up to Twitter with OAuth? And OAuth is a technology that lets there be token-based authentication. And so what happens is, so here's an example actually with Fire Eagle that comes from Yahoo, that's a location service, and Doppler that you can see there on the bottom, which is another kind of, that's a travel, keeping track of your travel service. And they happen to be connectable through OAuth. So let's just take a look at how this works, just looking at this screen. And I have really connected them in real life. I have an XML Girl account. So first thing to notice is Fire Eagle has an application gallery link, and I went and looked there last week, and they have 72 applications in their application gallery. So they're willing to hook up to 72 other applications on this OAuth basis, and all of them do something interesting and different. In this case, we've hooked it up with Doppler. And what it can do with Doppler is read your location at the city level and set your location. So interestingly, Doppler connects up to FireEagle, and it can see where you said in FireEagle you are, or it can tell FireEagle where you are based on knowing where you've traveled to this week. Okay? And that's why I have the subheadline here of expanding data sharing to service access, because Doppler is a kind of a requesting application to FireEagle, but one of the things it can request is to do an HTTP post. So here where you see, you can edit settings to say, what kinds of things can they do together. I just want to point out that's not actually part of OAuth. That's something that is done at an application level above the OAuth protocol. And I also wanted to just point out, so it just happened to be that it updated about a month ago when I took the snapshot. I haven't actually logged into FireEagle for a really long time until I went and looked here. I've logged into Doppler, though. And if I had connected Doppler to yet a third application through OAuth, and Doppler could be updated by that application, maybe I might not have logged into Doppler or FireEagle, and yet they're talking to each other on my behalf without my having to be there. That's cool, as long as they're doing it on my behalf under my instructions. So some descriptions that might mean more to a sophisticated audience such as yourselves might be, this is web services single sign-on, or token-based authentication, as I said before, or perhaps distributed authorization, which is what the OAuth people themselves describe this as. So, does it meet the 3 requirements I listed? Well, it reserves consent for a special configuration step. I like that. That's cool. Kind of set it and forget it. It allows for asynchronous access. That's cool. Doesn't let you impose your own terms, though. And I also wonder about something. I've got, 2 or 3 of these OAuth connections set up. What happens when I have 5 or 10 or 50 or 100? We've got a problem here, and so we're starting to see some emerging requirements in the picture. So what I think we need is a technical notion of relationship management. And we need it not only for user convenience, for managing privacy, for empowering people in a more even fashion with the online services they use, and just also for more, better, safer commerce. Don't leave money on the table. And so I think that we need to look for these features. A dedicated interface, apart from just when you log into things, that lets you authorize data sharing and service access. That interface should also let you impose contract terms on any app that wants access. It should let you monitor and change and even stop access relationships. You can do that with OAuth connected apps now, but it's sort of not part of their protocol. And finally, for letting services make requests of all your authoritative sources directly, no matter how many there are. And I think it's worth pointing out, yes, I'm authoritative for my address. I'm not authoritative for any reputation data about me, including, say, my credit score. And yet I might want to buy, or I might have through law, the right to see who else is seeing my credit score. So there's another use case for you. One of the taglines that you can think of this relationship management service like is user-driven web access management. And maybe, if you're looking at the monitoring access relationships part, user-driven data sharing analytics, user-driven compliance, maybe even. So I have sketched out here, this is a screenshot of something that doesn't exist yet. It's meant to be a vision. Hopefully you can see it in detail. I'll walk through it here. So what might it be like to actually set up contracts that you're going to impose on those who want to, say, grab some data from you, like your address on a regular basis? CopMonkey does not exist. It is a fake company, but it borrows from my colleague Daniel Raskin's famous smoking monkey. And there are companies who are making a bid to do something a little bit like this, if you're familiar with Plaxo, which is now owned by Comcast, or if you're familiar with Chimp, which is what gave me the smoking monkey idea because I didn't want to use their icon inappropriately. Chimp is trying to be sort of your personal data store on the web, kind of, sort of. So if you think, oh, this is an unrealistic kind of use case, well, there's companies trying to do this now, and some of them are, getting some good press about it. So CopMonkey doesn't exist, but it's trying to be your data sharing policeman. And here,